Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of In-Depth Angling. Today I'm giving you guys a fishing report for bass on Lake of the Ozarks. Today is 6/22, June 22nd, day after the summer solstice, longest day of the year. We've got really good conditions out here. Water's been fairly clear for the last few weeks now. It's been fairly dry weather pattern. We've been starting to get intermediate amounts of generation being run through Bagnell Dam, which is putting some fish out towards main lake points and ledges, and there's still some fish that are relating back to a dock flipping bite. Lures that have been working really good for me lately for the shallow fish near the docks have been Zumo Monster 10-inch worms. Just about any 10-inch worm will work. I've been catching them good on reds, greens, and blues and blacks. It doesn't really seem to matter color too much. The other thing that's been working really good is some sort of flipping jig, having something that's not like an overly big kind of a profile. A lot of the bluegill have been spawning for a little while now. Some have just got done spawning, so there's a lot of small brim and bluegill kind of swimming around the backside of these docks, and these brush piles are getting more and more use this year because we've had less and less current than what we normally do for a given June, as dry as it's been. So these shallow fish are still up here a little bit longer than what people are used to fishing for, and I'm taking full advantage of that. And really the bigger fish that I've been catching though have either been coming on jigs and worms. There's been some still being caught around on swim baits, chatter baits, early morning topwater, and evening topwater has been a player as well in those backwater areas where those fish are still eating those bluegill early in the morning like that. The shallow bite has also been very dependent upon timing too. As the sun comes up, those fish are really relating more underneath the dock shade, underneath the walkways, underneath those brush piles. If you can find some brush piles near a dock, usually those same places you are able to catch crappie really well in, those are the same areas that I'm finding those bass. They're eating those panfish, crappie, bluegill, whatever it may be, and throwing those 10-inch worms and jigs around through that has been catching me the better quality fish through those shallow parts of the lake. The night bite for these fish has been incredible as well up shallow. Those shallow water brush piles, anywhere you have any kind of light coming off of a dock near some shallow brush, has just been absolutely killer. Be prepared to just slow down a little bit, throwing those big worms and those jigs, and anything else like a chatterbait or something that's going to have a lot of really good vibration. Just work it as slow as you can without getting hung up, and you're going to have a really good consistent bite there. That's been something that's been very easy to pattern for me and others the last couple of weeks, and it's just been a great bite to be out at night, and they've been biting it all night long. So if you don't mind staying out late and getting out of the areas where there's a lot of wake and stuff during the day, you can go and fish some of those spots that otherwise you wouldn't be able to on a busy day. The deeper fish, the other pattern we have running on the lake right now, is a hit and miss bite. It's really dependent on whether or not the dam is running any generation. That little bit of generation of water leaving through Bagnell Dam is creating a small current along the bottom, coming across these main lake ledges and points, and it's really positioning the bait fish and the bass better, and getting them to where people are able to go out there with their electronics and being able to find them and catch them very well. Baits that have been working well out there are also topwaters early morning and evening. You'll be seeing some coming up and busting on some shad. As the day goes on, middle of the day, been seeing the generation pick up quite a bit because it's been hotter, so they're trying to run some power through to get some more energy for these air conditioning units that have been running. So middle of the day, as it's been hot, it's been really good for a deep cranking bite, as well as like throwing around a swing head. Your jigs, your plastic worms, like I mentioned before, are also working out there along the bottom. You just want to try to make sure that you're fishing that area that's around 10 to 20 foot deep. That's kind of where I've been finding a lot of them. The shad for me have been setting up around that 10 to 20 foot zone, which has been helping position those bass around that same area. Those hungry bass are not far from their food. So if you guys can see the shad over a point and you don't see the bass, look for some structure, some cover around that same depth zone, and kind of move around until you find that. Those fish are right now sitting up a lot of times in those brush piles right around that same depth range of shad that you're seeing are at, and they're just waiting for a school to come over them, and they'll come up and start a feeding frenzy right then and there. Sometimes it comes up to the surface, and sometimes it just stays under. So if you got electronics to see that stuff, it's going to be a huge key for you to get onto some really good numbers of some bass out there on the main lake. Out deep, like I said, the timing of that is very touchy as well, as it's very dependent upon the generation running through Bagnell Dam. But it's more of a shad bite, so shad colors have been producing a little bit better out there for me. throwing a little bit more whites, silvers, those kind of things to mimic more of the shad that those fish are feeding on, and it seems to be paying off better out there than it is up shallow. It helps to have some brush piles offshore as well, onto those points and ledges if you can find some. Those fish are really relating to those very, very well, especially in times whenever the generation does get kicked off for a few hours. Those fish kind of go right back to those brush piles. It's been a lot of sun lately, so high skies, those fish are pulling up really tight to the shade and getting away from that sun. So hope you guys are able to go out and catch some more fish this weekend as we're coming up here on a great weekend of fishing. I think we're going to have some storms coming in, so look for those fish to really be chewing, and go out and try to catch yourself a big bag of bass this weekend out on Lake of the Ozarks. Good luck to you, and we'll catch you on the next one.